In the next segment, watch out for Bela Lugosi baying at the moon.
That's funny. The lights in here ain't almost never out.
In you go.
Never do that. I could get killed that way.
Is that bad? Oh, so nothing's happened around here, huh?
It's busted. There, see? Like I said, there ain't nobody here. Hey, cut it out, will you? You're making me dizzy. Well, sure, somebody stumbled over it and pulled it out of the wall. Could happen anywheres.
Wants to shake hands with you, Bill. Step right up.
Not me. You seen it first. Doc!
Raymond, did you try and kill me?
Oh, why, Doc? Why should I do that? You ain't paid me for last month yet. How long you been here?
Now, let me see. I was going to make a telephone call when...
Somebody conked your hand, Doctor? Then ripped the telephone wire out?
Yes, I imagine that is about what happened. Who are these people?
Well, they're all right, Doc. This is Terry Lee and Miss Cornell from the Times.
We don't want any reporters here. Nothing's happened.
Look, Doctor, nobody ever wants reporters, but then something happens and there they are.
But nothing has happened. I fell and hurt my head.
Oh, I see. Then you got up again, put yourself on the table, and got all nice and pretty in that shroud there.
You won't get any story here. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have some work to do.
Doctor, do you mind if we stick around for a while, seeing that nothing's happened? Well, why not?
Very well, you may stay for a while, but I warn you, if you make yourselves objectionable in any way, I'll have Raymond throw you out.
Well, come on. You heard what the doctor said. He's busy. Get out of the office.
Probably a pretty nice guy, caught in a tough spot. That's the way I see it. You wouldn't want me to tell him you got kicked out of homicide, would you, Bill, old boy?
Oh, Terry, you're my pal. You know that, don't you? Would I kick you out?
You would if you could, Bill. Now, why can't we have a little talk, quiet-like?
Well, if you just follow me in the parlor over here.
Oh, me too, darling, me too. Darling knows everything about everyone, and that's how I learned.
Did that?
I just sit at his feet and listen.
Yeah.
Baby, I'm going to miss you an awful lot when I grow tired of you. Now, remember, you're just going to listen.
Well, of course, darling. What else do I do when I'm with you?
Sit down. Now, as I remember it, there was a singer at the Click Club who called herself Flora Laval. Didn't she marry young Ward Vanny a couple of years ago?
I don't know nothing about it.
Oh, yes, you do. It was just about the same time that you had that affair with the dressmaker's dummy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now I remember, Terry. You're right. You're right. She was down at the Click Club, and it was her that married Ward.
Wasn't that on a bet of some kind?
Well, there was a party going on, and somebody dared Ward to ask the singer to marry him, and he thought at the time it was a good gag, and he went along with it.
That's right. He got pretty high and then popped the question at her.
How romantic. I just love that.
Hush, dear. Listen.
Oh.
Well, that's how it happened anyway. Ward woke up the next morning and found himself married solid. He'd asked her, and she'd snapped him up.
Oh, and they lived snappily ever after.
I don't care. I think it was sweet. Darling, couldn't I get you high sometime and...
Sweetheart, have you ever heard the old saying about little girls?
What's that?
Little girls should be seen and not heard. Now go on, powder your nose.
All right.
I think I'll be shoving along, too.
Now, wait a minute. We're just getting started. We were talking about a singer who called herself Laura Laval. Pushed away into this house for good reasons of her own.
Gentlemen, I beg your pardon. I must tell you frankly, I have been eavesdropping.
Professor Leonard, this is a reunion.
My boy, you must forgive me. You seem to remember me, but I do not recollect you. When was it?
What was it? Oh, Professor, it was a long time ago, and I was a kid up in the balcony in Albany.
Yes?
When you brought down the house with great feats of legerdemain.
Oh.
You remember, Professor? That was the night that the box office receipts disappeared, just like magic.
A part of the act, my boy. Just a part of the act. It's a pleasure to meet one of my youthful admirers.
Terry Lee of the Central City Times.
Oh, the press? Well, it's nice to have known you.
Wait a minute, Professor. What's your hurry? Are you afraid I might bring up the subject of those certain unfortunate recent connections of yours?
Shot in the dark, my boy, I'm sure. And I will ignore it.
Of course.
And this young lady, no doubt a companion of yours.
Jane Cornell, my fiancée.
Delighted.
Likewise, I'm sure.
Delightful. And I would suggest to take very good care of her.
Mr. Lee.
Oh, I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet, Mrs. Van E.
Never mind, I'll tell him myself.
Darling, I met her upstairs and I told her all about you and that you know everything about everyone.
Thank you very much, dear. Welcome to your living room, Mrs. Van E.
Thank you, but it isn't my living room. I understand you're not unaware of my position in this house.
Well, maybe you can tell us about it.
I'm being kept a prisoner here against my will. I'm alone and friendless.
I'm sorry. Why haven't you called the police?
They've done nothing but to call for the police. They have kept me penniless so that I can't leave.
I understand.
They're trying to destroy my mind, Mr. Lee. By innuendo and indirection, they're trying to make me believe I've done something dreadful in the past. That I'm to be the victim of some horrible vengeance.
You know best about that.
I'm innocent, Mr. Lee. I've done nothing. Now, this doctor's brought some stranger here with these tricks and illusions to further make me
You
believe...
mean the professor and his little,
Yes. You must help me, Mr. Lee.
Laura, it's so good to see you downstairs again after all these days being locked in your room.
You know perfectly well why I've remained locked in my room.
Ward, this is Mr. Lee of the Times, the gentleman I told you about upstairs.
Oh, yes. Look here, Mr. Lee. We don't want any more of that front-page splash stuff, such as I got when I married Laura.
Your wife's been telling us that she's being kept here under constant threat.
She is out of her mind.
See what I mean, Mr. Lee? They don't overlook a single chance to put it in my head that I'm crazy.
Perhaps I can explain, Mr. Lee. We don't believe there's anything wrong with Laura now. But we are sure something will happen to her mind if she continues to live under this strain.
It's just as I told you. They're behind it. Can't I make that clear to you? They spend all their time trying to terrify me. They write me letters in green ink. They send me dummy heads wrapped in green paper. Anything to frighten me so I can't sleep. I can't think. The only thought in my head is that I'm going to be killed.
These are very serious charges, gentlemen. And I might say it'd make a perfect front-page splash.
Lee, if you dare print a word about those ravings of my wife...
Don't do anything to make me think they aren't ravings, Mr. Van E.
He said to put the blindfold on, and you will know the truth.
No!
What's wrong with her, Doc?
Quiet, Raymond.
You don't mean that she's...
Dead, Raymond.
Then I knew that he was here.
She's coming out of it, but she's in an advanced state of shock. May be necessary to administer a sedative.
That's intended to shut her up. I'd like to hear her do some more talking, Doctor.
If her mind is allowed to dwell upon what's happened, that may be the breaking point.
Well, you've got all the answers.
Look here, Lee, I don't like your tone. If you have any insinuations to make them to me.
Okay, I will. Suppose you and I talk this over downstairs.
I don't recognize your right to question me. However, if it'll make you leave Father alone...
Bill, fix yourself a chair right outside the door and don't leave until I get back.
Sure, sure. But what about Lilybeth? Don't she write nothing around here?
Now, Lee, first I'd like to see your credentials. You're busting here saying you're a reporter.
That's the old turn-the-tables gag, Vanny, but if it'll make you any happier, take a look.
All right, you're a reporter. But I still don't understand how you and the young lady got the news about our troubles. Do you really believe that story, Lee? Do you in your right senses really believe that we are keeping Laura a prisoner here?
That's what the lady says. She said that...
Nonsense. Nothing would please me more than if she got out.
Look, I don't get any of this stuff, Vanny, but there's a tricky deal going on around here, and I intend to sit in on it. Too bad I can't flash the city desk to make ready for a front-page replay.
Yes, isn't it?
Either your wife is the victim of a well-plotted program of persecution calculated to drive her insane, or she's the witch you say she is.
You're the fellow with the nose for news. What does it tell you?
It tells me that right now I'd like to know where your disappearing relative is. Get back, you fool.
What's out there? I have a right to know. Don't see anything. What was it?
It isn't possible. It isn't possible, of course.
What do you see out there, Lee? I've had enough of this.
Come on.